Hi, Brad here with Twisted Elk Brewery. Today we're out here in the hop yard. It's springtime. These plants are just bursting out of the ground. This is a critical time right now to get these guys started off on the right foot for the entire growing season. I've been doing this for about 10 years and I've learned a lot. I've learned a ton. A lot of it's been trial and error. A lot of it's been experimentation, but I've been producing some really good hops. I built this awesome trellis that holds about 22 plants. So we're going to talk about all this stuff. We're going to talk about how to care for them, how to harvest them, how to start them on the vines, how to actually split plants and create more plants for your entire hop yard. All that and more coming up. Wanted to show you guys the before and after of this hops. Once I get in here and clean this all up, show you what it's supposed to look like at the beginning of spring. Right now I've kind of neglected it a little bit. So I want to get in here and get this done as soon as possible. Been really busy at the brewery, so sometimes it's hard to find time and come back, but this is the most critical time for these guys. Right here in the early spring, so I've got to get in here and take control so I get a good harvest this year. Okay, this is my baby right here. This is the mother cascade plant. Out of all the hops in my hop yard, this is my absolute favorite. And in this climate where we're at here, cascade seems to be very hardy, very disease resistant. It grows extremely well. This one mother plant, I was able to split off into 12 other plants. And then I transplanted those guys all the way down the row. As you can kind of tell, these are only about 3 years old, so they're not as wild and crazy as the mother plant yet. But I tell you what, every single year since I've transplanted, even the year that I transplanted it, I got hops, and every year they get bigger and more and more and more. So this mother plant, a cascade, I try to take care of the best out of all of them. I try to keep up on it. I'm actually embarrassed I let it go this long. I was so busy at the brewery that I didn't have time to get down here. So now it's a wild, crazy mess. So I'm gonna be really careful. I'm gonna go in here and trim it and prune it, and then I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like afterwards. This cascade plant was so tangled up, I decided I had to unravel all the vines and lay all them out nice and neat on the ground. You have to be really careful when you do this so you don't damage them, because they're kind of delicate, especially around the very tip. If you break the tip off, you're done. So now I got all these potentials lined out here, and I'm gonna select the ones, I like the thick vines the best. That means they're the strongest. And length sometimes matters, but I would go over a thicker vine more than I would a longer one, because sometimes they get really long and skinny. They're just stretching for the sun. They can't quite find it, and they become limp, and they don't become good climbers. So I found getting the thickest vines and the ones where the tips look nice and strong on them, those are the ones I'm going to select to climb. Okay, I just got done doing the final pruning on our mother cascade plant here, and you can see we cleaned up all the vines except for the ones that's climbing the ropes. There is an exception. I left a few of these off to the side here. I did this on purpose. I'm going to transplant these ones, and I'm going to do another whole separate video on the transplant, but just to give you an idea what it should look like here, how I cleaned it up. You remove all the weeds. You don't want any weeds creeping in and competing with the nutrients of the soil, and you also want to take off these lower leaves. And you can see down here, I actually trimmed off a lot of them. Now, the young plants, because it hasn't fully started yet, I don't go too crazy, because the leaves need that sunlight to soak in there and help give the plant energy. So I don't want to take off too many, but I want to remove the ones from the bottom, so if it rains or it gets water, it doesn't splash up and start the mildew process or the disease or something like that. And we also want to clip out ones that, as you're running multiple vines, the leaves kind of cross each other. Some will get shadowed. So I remove some of those, trim them off. But as the plant gets bigger, I'll actually start cutting more and more of that lower leaves back, and I'll start continuously trimming them as they grow. Okay, this is what the hop yard looks like after all the pruning's been done. We cleaned up everything. I still have to go back and pick up the piles of the vines that we cut and trimmed and everything, but you can see how neat everything looks right now. Removed all the weeds. Everything started properly. This is one we have at a pot in the end. And this side over here was more my experimental side, and I kept the one down here, and I actually forgot what variety it was, but it tasted real good, so I kept that one in. But I ripped all these other ones out because we just didn't like that variety, or they wasn't growing well or something. This is my tea maker plant right here. I've been trying to grow this for 3 years. I've tried 6 different plants and I just can't get them to take, but this is one like rare hop variety that I really wanted. I wanted to do a hop tea with it and just never got it to grow. I mean, it looks like it's poking out every year and it grows a little bit on the vine, but never really like took off. Then I got these spots. These are more plants we ripped out. We're going to do some new varieties and some experimental stuff here. There's Bailey going around trying to eat something. Here's our other 3 container plants. These are the ones that we transplanted. We've got all different varieties right here. So overall, the hop yard is looking pretty good. Okay, this next segment, I'm going to show you how to transplant a hop. So this is our pot of potting soil here, our little tiny one. I also got a little cup of water right here. So what we're going to start with is we're going to select one of these vines. I had already did all my pruning. I pre-selected these guys. This one is a little longer than I want, but I wanted to show you this for the film. So we're going to come over here, if we can zoom in over here, and as the plant goes into the soil, I'm going to take my hand, I'm just going to dig around a little bit. I want to very gently try to pull up on that and snip it. So you can see this has a lot of tiny little roots on it. I'm going to take off some of these lower leaves right here, just kind of pinch those off, and we're going to go right into this water with it. We're going to give that a few seconds, let them roots kind of uptake a little bit of water, let it hydrate, and then we're going to go right into our potting soil. I'm going to put this almost sideways inside of here. It's really loose. Then we're going to pack it in. We're going to water that bad boy in there. Get your soil nice and moist. And then I'm going to come in too, because I didn't actually top it all the way off, so I'm going to add a little bit more soil on top of this. So all these little, you can feel these little prickly things. These are actually roots. These will become roots inside of here, so it'll add all that extra, that roots and root support. And I usually start them off on little tiny cups like this, and I'll let those go for about 3 to 4 weeks. You'll be able to tell, and then I transplant them into a bigger one, or you go right into the ground wherever you're going to go. But this is the mother cascade plant. I've split this thing at least a dozen times already, very successfully using the same method. Some people like to do the rhizome thing, and I've actually had mixed results. So if you've got a good plant that you know that you want and it's successful for you, this is the best way to do it.